I swear it's driven by the fear of gaining weight and what it comes down to, fear of rejection, fear of not being loved, fear of losing connection, or, like our caveman brains are thinking, I'm going to lose my community, which means I die.
Right.
That's like in layman's terms, that's what's happening. We now live in a world where we don't have to, where we're not going to be abandoned, right?
Right.
Like we have an abundance of food. We're not going to be abandoned by our village. Like that doesn't exist, but still our brains think that way. So me gaining weight in this society would mean I'm not lovable anymore, or my friends don't want to be around me. I'm embarrassing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So really dissecting those fears is a really huge part of my work as well.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Mom Does It All. If you're looking for encouragement, empowerment, and uplifting in motherhood and mompreneurship, this is the show for you. I'm your host, Marta Spurk, triplet mom, certified success coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. In this episode, I talk to body image expert and coach Amanda Richards. She shares about her work helping moms find self-love by paying attention to how they talk to themselves and not tying our weight to our worth. We are so much more than our body. Let's get right to it. Hey, if you've been following my stories on Instagram and Facebook, you've seen I've tried the HelloFresh box to cook easy and delicious meals that taste like they're from a restaurant, but they're so much more affordable. If you want to try it, use my link in the show notes or in my bio on Instagram for 30% off your first box. You don't want to miss this.
Hi, Amanda. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I am excited to chat with you once more.
Yeah.
So just a little background. You've already interviewed me for your podcast, and I have been saying that has been my favorite interview because
really
you ask the best questions, because usually people will ask like similar questions, right? Mm-hmm. How did you find out you had triplets? All those things. And your questions were so much more focused, and I got to go super in depth and share things that I hadn't even shared specifically. So I love that. And
cool.
Ever since then, following you on social media and seeing your content, it has really, really resonated with me, especially in the moment in my life that I am right now of not caring so much about what people say, of not following the shoulds that society imposes on us. And I know you're all about that too.
Yeah.
I'm a rebel. Yes. And I had never met someone or seen anyone that calls themselves a body image expert or a body image coach. Right. So I do want you to tell us how you got into this and where all of this comes from, and go ahead.
Oh, right. Well, thank you so much. I had no idea you were such a fan of our episode together. Yes. So that's awesome. But yeah, I think we talked about some really important stuff. So I'm excited to dive deeper into that stuff on this episode. So really long story short, I became a body image coach because of my experience. Just my whole life, I've always been like, I don't know, quote unquote, bigger. And so I always had body image struggles. Mm-hmm. I ended up going through my own set of eating disorders, a few different ones in my late teens and early 20s. And it just sucked so much away from my life. Mm-hmm. And I just lived in anxiety and on and off like depression for so long that I realized I just couldn't live like that anymore, to like not go into so many details here. But so I don't know, I guess in my healing process, I had found Instagram and I started following other women and they were talking about their flaws, quote unquote flaws when I thought flaws were flaws,
Mm-hmm.
And it just changed my life to see these women living their life, being happy, being quote unquote, like not in a perfect body and all this stuff. And it changed my life. And so when I was healing, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to be that for other women.
Nice.
And it slowly has spun into a coaching business. It's turned into, I feel like this duty, especially now being a new mom, like I feel this duty to give moms a voice because there's a lot of shame that goes into being a mom as far as like, are you being a good mom?
Right.
And, just there's so much unspoken pressure on us.
Totally.
So yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's my new passion project is like just speaking for moms, especially new ones.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. And I love the fact that you said that you feel that you have a duty to give a voice to moms, because that's so much where I'm coming from. It's to share my journey, but at the same time, empower moms that have similar feelings to say you're not alone. And then when they write me back and tell me, oh my gosh, I resonate with that, it like validates what I'm feeling. It's like, all right, I am not alone either. That's great. And it really helps with just getting your feelings out there and kind of working things out, because motherhood is a crazy thing.
Oh my God, it is. And with us, we have that platform. So why wouldn't we use it for good? I mean, why? I don't want to just use it to like be like, here's my life. Like, you guys love watching my life. I want to use it for a purpose that's more intentional. So I think that's
and pretend like everything is okay, so that people will look at you and think, wow, she has an amazing life, when in reality, it's not. Yeah. So we're past that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just and people message me all the time. They're like, how do you balance all this? And I'm just like, I don't.
Right. Yes.
I literally don't.
I don't. There is no such thing as balance.
Right.
So what does the work that you do with these women that hire you to be their body image coach look like?
Well, it's different for everyone, of course, but a lot of it, this is what people come to me for. So they come to me saying, I can't figure out how to be more free around food. I can't figure out why I want to control my food so much, or because body image and food are so tightly related. Or it's just like, I'm afraid of like what people think about me if I were to gain weight and like all this stuff. And what it always comes down to is a lack of disconnection with who you truly are.
Yes.
Just to be simple here, it's just a lack of disconnection. And so they're coming to me for food. They're coming to me like, I'm out of control around food, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just talk about like what you were going through as a kid. How was your relationship with your mom? And it always goes back to that. It really does. Yeah. And so it's amazing because they come to me for one thing, and then we end up talking about like more like life stuff, I guess. And we just go back and we heal and we reprocess, and we see where you picked up those patterns as a child. Because from the age 0 to 7 years old, you live in basically the brain waves that you would be in when you're being hypnotized, or if you can really get into a meditative state when your unconscious mind is highly impressionable. So those years of your life are so crucial. So I'm actually glad I mentioned this, because we're on a podcast about momming. So you have to be so careful, even just your body language around your children, what you say, how you talk about yourself to maybe your husband, even if you think they're not listening, they are. Yeah. So, everything can stem back to that. It's actually pretty crazy.
Yes. And that's it has a lot to do with the work that I do with women too, with identifying self-sabotage. And you really, really have to go back into your past to realize how the things that you carry with you right now came to be. Like, where did this come from? Right. Because there's no use having the goal of, I want to change X, Y, and Z, if you don't look at what it is right now and the source of that. You can't change it. Right. Yeah. So, and it usually goes back to your relationship with your mom and other women in your life, because body image and women, it's just a crazy thing. I don't know how it is for guys, but I definitely know it's not easy for women.
No. I think that we each have our own different type of struggle with body image. I mean, obviously men have it too, but I think women deal with it in a way different way. And we really can dedicate our entire life to weight loss and being thinner, just for the place of worth. Yes. That's what I don't agree with. I mean, if you really are doing it for your health, then that's different. But you know what I'm saying? If it's all from a place of worth and you think that, okay, when I get to this weight, I'm finally going to be myself, and I'm finally going to date and wear cute clothes and like all this stuff that you're waiting and putting on the side. That's I don't agree with, because you can do all of that now. Truly.
Exactly. Yes. And not waiting. I'm so big on not waiting until that one thing happens for you to be happy, because it's not going to happen. You have to find that now. Right.
Right. Yeah. I was actually reading a post the other day, and she said it perfectly, where if you're not happy with what you have now, you're not going to be happy when you get the things you want, because you haven't learned the skill of appreciating what you have now,
Yes. Gratitude.
So, yeah. Which is it's so trendy now, the gratitude thing, and it kind of drives me nuts, but it really is the truth though. If you can really be humble about it and vulnerable about it, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And, the whole thing of the way you think about yourself and the way you talk about yourself, especially around kids, because that's what they're going to pick up at from, right? And I remember one of your posts around Christmas, which was something that we did mention when you interviewed me, was that, usually you're going to get around family and you're going to be wondering, what will they think of me, my clothes, what I'm wearing, what's going on? And most times people are not even looking at that. They have their own issues and they're thinking what you're going to be thinking. And we're all so consumed about what others are thinking. And they're not. They're thinking about themselves or of what other people are thinking. It's just so convoluted and complex.
We're very egocentric creatures. And so we're always thinking about ourselves. So there's really no reason why other people would be thinking about you. Maybe it might be a fleeting thought. Like they're like, oh, she gained weight. And then it's gone. And then they're back to thinking about themselves. And even if they are judging you on your weight, like then why do you even care what they think if they're going to be that small of a person,
I know. Exactly.
So.
Yeah. That's so important to realize too, because we waste so much of our times doing things for others. Because in reality, the whole thing of I need to fit in a certain size or I need to be a certain weight on the scale to be happy, a lot of it has to do with what people will think of you too, right?
It's all driven by that. I swear, it's driven by the fear of gaining weight, and what it comes down to is fear of rejection, fear of not being loved, fear of losing connection, or, like our caveman brains are thinking, I'm going to lose my community, which means I die, Right. That's like in layman's terms, that's what's happening. But it's like, we now live in a world where we don't have to, where we're not going to be abandoned, right?
Right.
Like we have an abundance of food. We're not going to be abandoned by our village. Like that doesn't exist, but still our brains think that way. So me gaining weight in this society would mean I'm not lovable anymore, or my friends don't want to be around me. I'm embarrassing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So really dissecting those fears is a really huge part of my work as well, because no one thinks that deep. They're just like, I don't want to gain weight, but they don't know why,
Right. Yes. So. And it's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
And when I went through my success coaching certification, the body image thing came up and I wasn't expecting that. And it made so much sense because it said that your confidence, your level of confidence has a lot to do with how you feel about your body. And then this trickles into all of the other areas of your life, because when you're not confident in something, you usually judge other people in that same area. So, I don't like the way I don't know, my butt looks. And then you're going to be looking for other women either to say, look, her butt is amazing, or she's not even that pretty. Like it goes one or one of two ways. And it's all stems back to how you feel about yourself. And we don't realize that.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I can totally see. I've never heard that, but I can totally see how that connects, how what you're self-conscious about, you're always looking at in other people.
Yeah.
And body image really comes down to poor self-image. That's really what it is. Like body image
poor self-image.
Yeah, it's like a superficial cover up for all the other underlying issues. Like my big one that I'm still working through is just like not feeling good enough in general since I was a kid. Like feeling like I was annoying, like I shouldn't be who I really am, that I'm too overbearing, that I'm not good enough. And that was underneath all of the poor body image. And it's just like, you just keep trying to manipulate your food and trying to manipulate exercise. And you're just like burning yourself from both ends. And you're like, all this time, it's because my dad said something to me when I was a kid about be quiet, you're being annoying or something. You know what I mean? Right. It's crazy how it's all connected.
Wow. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your body either.
No, it doesn't. It really never does. And that's really hard for people to wrap their head around.
Right. But that's why it's so important to dig deep and to go into these things, because then you're going to be wasting your time working on something superficial that is not even solving the problem.
Yeah. It will never feel fulfilling. And it's just like chasing your tail, basically.
Totally. I've been reading a book. I don't know if you're familiar with Gabby Bernstein. The universe has your back. Well, and she has this one that I'm reading that's called May Cause Miracles. And this week, because it's every day there's a different thing for 42 days. And then this week she's actually focusing on body image. And it's just crazy how everything always happens at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're having this interview and everything. And she keeps saying, you are not your body. Mm-hmm. And I love that because we go so much deeper than that. We're deeper, people and beings, that our bodies is not where it ends. It's just a vehicle and a tool for who we really are. So if you don't figure out who that is, then you're just really wasting your life away.
You really are. And I like that's what I do in my work, is like, I'm helping you discover what lights your soul on fire. Like, what do you love? What brings you absolute joy? And do that. Do that more, to put it simply. Mm-hmm. So that's really an important concept. And I think it's hard for people to separate from that. Like it's hard to separate from your body and think that like this is literally just houses your soul.
Right. It's not everything at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Well, I do. You did mention before when we talked about having brain hacks and helping women with their mindset, obviously, because we're talking about going deeper. Right. And since we're on the topic, I would love to hear some ideas that you have, some advice that you have for women that might be in this difficult place of maybe feeling like what you described, I'm not enough, I just have to be quiet, I'm overbearing, or just not confident in their own skin.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that you can do for more like entrepreneurship and just like productivity. But some of the stuff that I use for productivity, I use with my clients too.
Okay.
So one thing is so basically we think that if we talk bad to ourselves, if like to motivate ourselves, we think that was like, come on, you can do better. You can do better. That was not good enough. Blah, blah, blah. Like that's how we all internally motivate ourselves. And actually research has shown that turns off the motivation center of our brain, and we won't want to do anything if we are talking. Because imagine if you have someone standing over your shoulder, like, try harder. You're not doing good enough.
Right.
Like you're
not helpful.
Yeah, no, it's like, okay, I'm just going to shut down, like I'm just going to want to curl into a ball. So, the way that you can bypass that is actually our bodies respond better to calm, soft voices, talking very gently. And I know that sounds so simple, but it actually helps you secrete oxytocin, which helps you feel more comforted, and it actually turns you into being motivated. So yeah. So as simple as that is, there's research to show that it works. So when you're feeling that way, or when you start getting on yourself about your body, be like, listen, Amanda, you are beautiful. You are totally fine the way you are. This is like you said, your body is not everything. You are more than your body. Another thing you can do is talking in the third person to yourself is really, really beneficial, because if you're like, I am beautiful, I am fine, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't sink in as much as saying, Amanda, you are beautiful, or Amanda, you are an amazing human being. You have to remember that.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And it's different when like when you hear your name, you like perk up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So talking in the third person, what is happening in your brain is we have multiple selves. So we have like who we think we are. We have our higher self. We have our shadow self. We have who other people think we are. And so when you start going to the place of, I would call it like more like your shadow self and your doubts, your fears, then it's a way for your higher self to kind of talk to your shadow self and be like, hey, listen, let me pull you out of where you're going right now.
Right.
So simple, but really effective.
Oh, and I love that, because it's more like being that nurturing person like you would do. And I've been talking a lot about this lately, about how you should pay close attention to how you talk to yourself in the same way that you would talk to your daughter, for example, or to the little girl version of you. Would you be harsh and be like, you're stupid? Right. Or no, you would be the most loving possible. And it makes so much sense to use that calming voice and to show love, right, to this person and not be harsh, because no one responds to harsh. I mean, we have kids, we sometimes get out of control because they drive us nuts, but they don't respond to that. It's just the way it is, right?
Yeah. And it's crazy to think, oh, I have to be loving to myself. Oh, I have to. And a lot of the times, this is another thing I find with my clients is it is that little girl in them that's just crying out for love and attention and to be healed. And we do have to do a lot of inner child work.
Yes.
So talking nicely to the little girl inside of you who's still there, who's still hurt over it could be such a little thing, or in your adult brain, you think what happened was really little, but to that little girl, it was detrimental. So that's a really important aspect too.
And I think being moms now, this should be even more real and relatable because, and I think, all of us, once we have kids, we start going back into our childhood, whether we want to or not, because we remember things that we went through that we didn't maybe like, or sometimes I try to put myself in their shoes. Like they don't know what they're doing. They have only been around for a couple years.
Yeah.
I'm the one here that should know what's going on. So I should know better, and kind of understand that place where they're coming from. And this goes back to understanding that we went through this too as kids, and it's tough being a kid if you think about it. I mean,
it really is. I know I feel so sad sometimes thinking about her being a female going through, especially with technology now and filters and all the stuff. And I just feel like I hope I do a good job at instilling that happiness comes from within, worth comes from within. Like no one else gets to determine your worth.
Yes.
And I'm going to try my hardest to just let her know from a young age that it doesn't matter what other people think. Like you get to decide what and who you are,
Yes. That's so powerful.
Yeah. I think it just sets them up to know that external things don't fulfill you, don't make you happy, and don't matter. They're
they don't determine you.
Yeah. So.
And let's talk a little bit more about the business side of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how you are structuring everything, balancing, quote unquote, everything. And because you do have a part-time job as well. And then you have the baby at home. Tell us all.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's crazy though, because I was trying to I've had my Instagram for almost 2 years, and I was trying to build the business for like a year and a half of that. And I just never could get myself to do it until I had Bella. That's what's so crazy. It was like, finally, when I had her, I was like, okay, I have to do this. But also I think part of that motivation is that when I had her, it wasn't like that exploding love, like this is my purpose type of thing. And I was like, okay, I thought that I just wanted to be a mom and I need more to fulfill me. And then I thought that something was wrong with me for that, So
I know.
Yeah. So I think that's important for people to hear that, that's okay. It doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. That's just how you're wired. And I don't know. So that's what really got me starting on my work. So when I went back from maternity leave, I went back part-time. But I went full force into the business, and now that she's crawling, now that she's almost walking and stuff, it's been really hard. And I really don't know how I balance it, to be honest. And I don't know. What I can say is I really have to be on guard about my mental health and mental status a lot of the time. I have to be very mindful. I have to take a lot of breaks, which actually research is showing that the more breaks you take, the more productive you are, believe it or not. So I have to take a lot of breaks. I have to do either I do a lot of self-hypnosis, or I do just deep breathing exercises. So a lot of timeouts during the day, return to my body, take a deep breath, body check. I love baths lately, a lot of self-care. But, all in all, I think my intention for this year, which has made it a little easier, because before it was every day I was going into battle, because you have to take care of a child, but you also have a bunch of stuff to get done.
Yep.
And so I think being realistic about what can you even get done? Like sometimes I think the rule, like this unspoken rule is like try to pick 3 or 5 things that you can do, like your main 3 things. And it's like sometimes I can't get all 3 things done no matter how hard I try. So I think it's being more realistic and saying, okay, well, maybe I can pick one big thing that I want to get done that if I get that thing done, I will feel accomplished. So I think for moms who are also entrepreneurs, that's important to understand you have a child you're caring for and you can't act like other business owners.
Right. No,
you know?
It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. And also, it's hard because your brain takes at least like 20 minutes to get focused on something. So imagine you're trying to sit down and do something and then every 15 minutes you're being interrupted. You have to restart and get focused. So, I don't know. It's just really frustrating. And so I feel for other moms, just know it's frustrating and you probably aren't going to get done what you want to get done every single day. Probably most days.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. And like I was saying before, my intention for this year is make room for it because you have to learn to be flexible and not have to be so controlling about your day.
Not be so controlling, not put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah. And like when I'm planning out my week, which I'm still getting good at this, I'm still working on how to do this. But when I'm planning out my week, it's more like these are like my main couple of goals. Like let's say I have like 3 or 5 goals I want to get done during the week. And then as the days come, I like choose from that menu. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm feeling. Cause I work on inspiration, number 1.
That's important too.
Yeah, like self-awareness, just knowing how you work better and stuff like that. Like I can't say, okay, on Wednesday I'm going to podcast because I don't know if I'll feel like podcasting on Wednesday.
Exactly. And then it's not going to turn out as good. I totally believe in that. If you're not feeling it, it's like do something else that you need to do. Do this other thing later. Otherwise, it's not going to be as effective or productive.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you get into more of that, like connecting with yourself and you're in that intuition, so that I think it's just understanding how you work. But yeah, so I just like pick from the menu. I do what I need to do. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just being more flexible is a huge thing. It's a huge skill as a mom.
I think, and with that, everything is going to change once the kids are going through different stages too. Yeah. So it's adapting, right? So maybe what you were able to do in one sitting before, it's not going to happen for a couple months anymore until they go out of that phase or whatever. Just kind of make room for it. And just like what you were saying, you kind of have to work around your life.
Yeah, you really do. You really do. And like trying not to get frustrated about it. And it's just like, okay, this is what we're doing now,
Yes.
It's different and it's hard in an online world where you see, come make 10K months, take my 6-week program and you'll be making 10K months and don't work very much. Just be in flow. And when you're in flow, the money just comes in and it's just like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just so sick of seeing that. And it's just like, no, it really takes hard work.
It does. And that person's probably not a mom. So.
No, they're not.
Or if they are, their kids are off to school, college. And
or they have a team. They're making enough where they have a team or they can pay for childcare at home or something. Like it's not them working with their kids by their side, literally.
Right. Oh no. Cause that's impossible. We know that's impossible. That does not work.
Yeah.
They have to be entertained by somebody else.
And I don't want to like, I feel like you're a creator of your reality, but I think for moms, it's really important to understand that you're probably going to move slower progressively in your business than other people.
Yes. And that's okay. You have to come to terms with that and not get frustrated. And it goes back to what we were saying, being nurturing and gentle to yourself and to your kid too. Cause I really want to touch on what you said. I didn't have that exploding love when I first became a mom. And that's been coming up a lot for me lately. When people ask me, did you want to be a mom? Did you want to be a stay-at-home mom? And it's like, yes, I did. But I didn't realize what it was going to entail or what it was going to be like. You don't know until you're there, until you know. And for a while I was wondering, maybe I feel like this because it's 3 and it's extremely intense, which I think obviously always, it always affects my reality in a different way, but it's nice to be able to hear from other women. And I've been talking a lot about you in my stories lately, because you are being so upfront about this. And I feel like it's important to put this out there to tell women, some of us are not going to feel 100% in awe, amazed at being a mom. Some of us are going to have moments where we don't enjoy this role. And I feel like that's okay.
Yeah, I love that you said that. We don't enjoy this role. And that's exactly how I was feeling when I posted that thing the other day. It was a really rough week. And I'm just like, I don't want to be a mom right now. I just really don't. I just want to like take a week off, you know?
I know.
And for some reason, there's like this unspoken thing that if you want to take time off from being a mom, that you're a bad mom and you don't love your kid. And that's not true. It's just you're a human. And and I'm like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but a hypersensitive person. You've ever heard of that? HSP?
No, I don't think so.
So it's basically someone who's really energetically sensitive, who I can feel when other people, like just really highly intuitive. I can feel when other people are upset. Like I can feel their moods. It's really hard to explain, but also sensory wise. So like someone talking to me, like I'm not a type of person who can work and have music on and have the TV on or something like that. Like even lights overwhelm me. So to have a little tiny human crying and wanting me all day long is so draining to me. That I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yes.
So that's how I was feeling when I wrote that post the other day.
Yes. And you talked a lot about that, needing me. They need me. The husband needs me. And I have my dogs. My dogs need me. And this was something that's hard for other people to understand. Sometimes I even try telling my husband that. It's like, because he's been working out of town and sometimes, and he stays in a hotel by himself. And then he's like, you don't even remember that I'm here. I don't think you miss me. And I'm like, look, I'm surrounded by people and dogs all day long. They need me. Yes, they need me and they demand my attention. It's not just like they're sitting there. No, I need to tend to them. And it's exhausting. So when they're all done and over with for the night, I just want to be with myself. So I'm sorry if I don't remember to send you a good night text. It's not that I don't love you. It's just, it's too much sometimes.
Yeah, I really feel like I don't want to be like, men don't get it, but they really don't understand the extent of it unless they were like home every single day for a week as a trial run. I don't feel like they would truly understand the extent of it.
No.
So that sucks. But yeah, that really is a hard thing because it's a role change between you and your partner. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm mourning as well. Like I wrote in that post the other day that I wrote, it was like, I'm mourning my loss of freedom, but I'm also mourning the loss of the relationship I had with my fiance before, where it was like, hey, it's Friday. Want to go to the pub, have a couple beers, have some hot wings, chill. That doesn't happen anymore. No. And so the more you fight it, though, the worse it's going to be. But I don't know. So I was actually thinking about this the other day. It's like, I'm so worried about trying to be present with the kids and trying to be present with my clients and, all this stuff that I forget that my time with my fiance is also limited. Like we don't live forever. And you know what I mean? All these years we're spending, we forget about them. So I don't know. For me, the best I can do is like send him texts and just be like, hey, I'm really grateful for you, or thanks for being a good dad. And I think men respond to words of affirmation really well.
They do. Yeah. They want to be acknowledged. And I mean, we all do, right? But I feel like, for them, that's important too. Yeah. I hear a baby.
Do you? Oh, I can't hear. I have my headphones on.
Oh, well, this was so awesome. I am so glad we got to touch on different topics that I was wanting to touch and hear from you. So thanks so much for that. And tell us how to reach you and all the things you have going on.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have my podcast, like we mentioned, it's Rich Imperfections Radio. That's my brand, is Rich Imperfections. I created it because I don't know. I just feel like I want to live a life rich and embracing my imperfections, which aren't really imperfections. They're just perceived. But yeah, so Rich Imperfection Radio. And then on Instagram, I'm mostly on Instagram and it's Rich Imperfections. That's how you'll find me. And that's where I'm most active. So,
all right, you guys need to go follow her. She has amazing quotes and posts to lift you up. It always brightens up my day because I'm like, yes, got to remember that. Yes, it's true. Thanks, girl. I love it.
The daily check-in.
Yes, daily Amanda check-in.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. This is great. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Yes, thank you.
I can't help but be so thankful for this podcast because of you listening to me and because of all the amazing women I've been connecting with because of the show. I mean, Amanda is amazing and you have to go check her out and connect with her. Her message is so uplifting and encouraging. Of course, it has everything to do with what I do. So don't forget to do that and check out the show notes for more info. And don't miss Thursday's episode. I'm going to be talking about our very first giveaway. I'm so excited. Tune in, guys. Have a great week. Bye.